Hey, I hope everybody's doing well out there. I'm Mark Grote. This is indeed the Daily Score. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching if you're on YouTube. And thanks for listening on whatever device you may be on and whatever outlet you use to find us. I appreciate it. The NFL draft is tomorrow. The Bears right now have the number 1 and the number 9 picks in that draft. We know the Bears are going to take Caleb Williams, okay? It's going to happen. Ryan Poles, we spoke to him and asked specifically, hey, can you just let the cat out of the bag? Is it going to be Caleb Williams? He all but said it. He just there was sort of a winking nature to him. He said, I'm not going to tell you guys, you're just going to have to tune in on Thursday night with everybody else. So he is allowing for a little bit of suspense in this draft. But Caleb Williams will be picked number 1 by the Bears. And we are going to hear some stuff on Caleb Williams from Ryan Poles in a second. But let's go to some of the other topics that'll probably be that there is suspense for when it comes to the draft. And one of the reasons is that the Bears right now only have 4 picks in this entire draft. Now that could be multiplied possibly with if they do something with the number 9 pick, if they move down, maybe assets for next year. But what is interesting about what Ryan Poles was talking about is that the strength of the roster right now, things we haven't heard in Ryan Poles' tenure with the Bears. The roster has strength this year, so that mitigates some of the lack of picks that you have. Here's Ryan Poles.
Yeah, things shift and change as you go along. It also, it's going to be hard to make this team now. It's going to be really hard to make this team. That doesn't mean you don't want more shots later. We'll always welcome a lot of picks, but it doesn't force you to panic about the situation we're in right now with how many picks we have. So it fits our roster, but it also fits kind of like we just talked about the current status of this draft, and then moving forward what next year looks like as well.
I love that he said that. Like, it's going to be hard to make this team. I'd have to go back and find it, but I think when Ryan Poles came on board a few years ago, I don't know if he said it made it as simple as it's going to be easy to make this roster, but there was something and I'm paraphrasing Ryan Poles in his rookie year. It was very much the opposite. There's an opportunity to make this team. If you are an undrafted free agent, yeah, come on down. We're signing rank and file players, and we're signing rookie undrafted picks, and we're signing later round. Everybody is welcome. And things have tightened up considerably out at Haugh Hall. So I thought that was one of the more significant things that Ryan Poles said, that it's going to be hard to make this team. Okay, good. All right, let's get into the draft now, and specifically the question of, will the Bears, is it possible that at number 9 we see you, Ryan Poles, trading up or trading down?
Yeah, that's hard to answer right now. I think as the draft unfolds, there's going to be some indicators that kind of start to educate us on how we need to move to acquire the top talents in this draft.
If a trade back does kind of become the scenario, is there a threshold where you go, okay, this is too far back to move? We want to kind of stay in this range. Is there a range for you?
Yeah, as I've said in the past, like, we need to count, the players in certain ranges, and that's, we would feel uncomfortable if we got outside of whatever threshold that is. So again, it's kind of depends on the first couple picks and how they move, and we count them up and say, you know what, here's the line. We can't go past that.
Do you feel a need to add more picks?
Right.
Feel a need to add more picks going in with only 4?
No, I feel really good at where we're at. If that happens, that's great. If we have less, that's whatever we need to do to kind of accomplish what we're setting out to do.
No GM feels good with only 4 picks. They can feel good about the moves that they have made and perhaps what they have given up to get some of the players that are on the roster, like Montez Sweat, giving up a second-round pick just as one example. So you can definitely look at the roster and say, hey, we have worked with these picks. We have made acquisitions. We've got another top wide receiver for a second round pick as well. So that you have to mention those kinds of things. But I will say this. I like the fact that there is a threshold. Like Ryan Poles didn't give you much there, but he's basically telling you that we're not going to get crazy here and trade down to the bottom of the first round or even to the second round. That if they trade down, that there is a limit to how far down they will go. At least that's the way I read it. So it'll be interesting. My gut is that, man, I don't know what my gut is because I've got them taking Roma Dunze at number 9, the wide receiver. I can't justify any of the defensive ends nor interior defensive linemen in the top 10. I think that there's some serious talent with some of those guys like Dallas Goedert and Jared Verse. But I just cannot make a case. Latu out of UCLA. I can't make a case for any of these guys being in the top 10, but I do like those players, if that makes any sense. I just don't know if there's different makers in that regard. I do think that Roma Dunze will be a better wide receiver than, say, Jared Verse is a defensive end. So that's my comfort. The other part, what I was going to say initially is I think it's a strong chance that the Bears could trade down, but as Ryan Poles said, not too far. Remember, they did it last year, and we'll see if they do it again this year. They didn't trade down much last year, and they ended up getting their guy and setting up right tackle for the next, hopefully, 7 to 9 years or so. All right, let's get to Caleb Williams. I kind of saved Caleb Williams for last because in this case, like I said, we know he's coming to the Bears, and are we gonna be talking a lot about Caleb Williams? So I guess this is my chance to pace myself when it comes to Caleb Williams. Although I don't think any of us have done a very good job of pacing ourselves. Why would we want to pace ourselves? All right, so Ryan Poles, as you might recall, had the visit from Caleb Williams. Part of that visit was to go out to dinner with Caleb Williams, with some of his teammates. And here's Ryan Poles on how that dinner went.
I think it just confirmed a lot of the information that we got. There's a kind of testing where his football understanding is. That part, getting him with the coaches, that was a very positive interaction there. And then getting him with some of our players. That's important to us. We're in a really good place with our culture in our locker room. As much as I can, I want those guys a part of the process of building this team. I trust their feedback, and I think that chemistry is really important. So that's why we did that.
Hey, it's a smart move. I don't know that I would never call it a required move, but I kind of like it. And like learning Ryan Poles' process and how he likes to and the feedback and the trust that he has for players and obviously for his assistants, including Ian Cunningham, who, by the way, was a part of the press conference today. Last thing, and it is Caleb Williams again. Caleb Williams has lofty goals. He welcomes the Patrick Mahomes comparison, especially with the winning. He talking about Tom Brady and that Caleb Williams wants 8 Super Bowls, and he's not just saying this like a little kid would. I mean, he's saying it with a degree of sincerity. So here is Ryan Poles on those lofty goals from Caleb Williams.
Yeah, I love it. I think we all should have huge goals. We have huge goals here. Win multiple championships, and that's what we shoot for. You're more intentional when you have these goals that you're shooting. You have to live a certain way. You have to practice a certain way. You have to go about your business a certain way in order to accomplish those. So if everything else is aligned underneath that, that gets me excited.
Of course. Hey, we talked about this the other night, Anthony Herron and I and Lawrence Holmes, that you want somebody to walk in there to shake things up a bit. And that's Caleb Williams. I think that's what this franchise has needed. I love what Ryan Poles has added to this franchise. There seems to be a difference in Ryan Poles relative to some of the other GMs that I've covered, like Ryan Pace and Jerry Angelo and Phil Emery, certainly. So, yeah, I love hearing that. And I do hope they let him be him and be a leader. And it doesn't have to be, abrasive in any way, shape, or form. But let Caleb be Caleb and do things and be the leader and all of that kind of stuff. I know that there's going to be a learning curve, and I know there's going to be early mistakes, but I think the Bears will have made the right choice on Thursday night when they do take Caleb Williams with the number 1 overall pick. Thanks to everybody for listening and watching and subscribing. I appreciate you. I also appreciate our executive producer, Radius. I am Mark Grote for the Daily Score. Have a great day, everybody.